exists a world parallel to ours, begging to be explored. A place where the rules of our existence don't always apply. Where the shadows of the past live in the present. When we manage to communicate with those who dwell in that world, we learn more about those who came before us and even perhaps where we, ourselves, are heading. It takes a special set of skills to connect with the other world.
You've arrived at your wanted destination.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to The Realm, your gateway to the unexplained and the paranormal. I'm your host, Erica Flor, and tonight we have an otherworldly lineup of guests who will take us deeper into the mysteries of the unknown. But before we dive into our first guest, I thought I should fill you in on who I am. Now, if you're wondering what brings me to the paranormal, it might be my love of all things immersive and my love of all things spooky, to put it simply. I find myself chasing shadows at the Speakeasy SF and San Francisco's haunted Terror Vault. I've even portrayed Shakespeare's witches, Lady Macduff, and roles from The Tempest to The Merchant of Venice. So you could say I've gathered a few ghostly tales myself. Oh, and my being on the Aries-Taurus cusp probably explains my tenacity, or as some would say, stubborn spirit. So sit back, hold tight, and let's step into the unknown together. Once again, good evening and welcome to The Realm. Let's turn to our first guest, an incredibly gifted psychic medium, Michelle Peixoto, who has been helping people connect with their loved ones in the spirit world for years. Michelle, it is lovely to have you. How have you been?
Great. Thank you for having me, Erica. It's nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. So, you grew up in a deeply religious Catholic household and attended Catholic school. How did your early religious upbringing shape or challenge your belief in the paranormal when you first began experiencing supernatural events?
Well, as you mentioned, I went to Catholic school for 7 years, and my family was quite religious. I decided early on that the Catholic religion really wasn't my thing, so I did research a lot of other religions, and I found a great church that's non-denominational Christian church that I really resonated with. As far as the paranormal and my abilities and some of my hobbies with the paranormal, my paranormal quest, I call it, I can't discuss that with a lot of friends and family because they are against that type of activity. So I'm kind of selective on who I share that with.
Fair enough. I understand that the moment with Uncle Frank's phone call seems like a pivotal moment in your life. Can you walk us through what that moment felt like for you and how it shifted your perception of reality and your psychic abilities?
Up to that point, I really didn't share my experiences with anyone. My father used to flip homes, and this particular house that we were at really had a lot of negative energy. There was shadow figures. One night my room got really cold and the sheets got pulled down, and I just really couldn't share that with my family. Nobody else was having experiences. So this one day when my uncle called, the phone rang, and I just blurted out without even thinking, "That's Uncle Frank." And my mom picked up the phone, looked at me, and was like, "How did you know that was Uncle Frank?"
How old were you?
I was a teenager, and I just said, I don't know how I knew. And at that point, I knew I was exposed. My parents now knew that I had some abilities. So I never wanted to live in fear like I did in that home. So with the help of watching some of these shows like Ghost Adventures, I realized that other people have these abilities, and I'm not just some crazy person. This really does happen. And with more and more incidents that happened, I knew they couldn't be coincidence, that I really was experiencing these things. So I ended up pursuing education in psychic development. I took an extensive 6-month course in mediumship with a tutor from the Arthur Finley School. I also did a lot of workshops at the Golden State Spiritualist Church in San Francisco, and did, practice circles. So I really wanted to hone in on my abilities and work with my skills.
That's amazing. I didn't know that there were that many outlets to learn. You mentioned that your husband wasn't initially supportive of your work until he experienced it firsthand. So how has his involvement in paranormal investigations changed the dynamic between you two, both in your relationship and your shared experiences with spirits?
My first experience outside of the house was at the Washoe Club. We went up to Virginia City for street vibrations. Yes, I rode a couple of Harleys in my day, and my husband didn't want to have anything to do with it. So I did the Washoe tour on my own, and when I got to the location where supposedly there was some activity, I said out loud, not meaning to be confrontational to the spirits, I don't feel anything. And all of a sudden, I got electrocuted by the spirits. There was just this prickly, fascinating feeling. And at that exact moment, the spirits drained all of the battery in my camera and broke it, and it never worked again. I went on a couple more investigations, and my husband really wasn't happy about it. I went with groups. He kept thinking I was going to bring spirits home, but in reality, we've already had spirits in every place we've lived. But I finally thought, I got to get this guy on board. So I took him to a place that I thought was a potential haunted place in Port Costa, and I asked the innkeeper if we could check out the hotel. So she gave us the full ring of the keys for the hotel, and we went through room by room until I came upon one room where I started to get a headache, and I'm like, this is the room. So I started doing an investigation. I had my digital recorder, and my husband kept wandering around, opening and closing doors, and I yelled out to him, Paul, make sure you close the doors. Well, when I did a playback of the digital recorder, clearly on the digital recorder, there's a spirit in a whispery voice saying, Paul, lock them. She said it twice. And so I called my husband back and let him hear it, and he was hooked. We did another half an hour investigation in that room. The spirit was interacting with us, an intelligent spirit, back and forth. And now my husband has probably 3 times as many paranormal gadgets as I do. And we do it on vacations every time. We go to national parks, and we go hiking, and then we always throw in a paranormal investigation.
Very nice. Only a medium will just go, oh, I have a headache, let's walk straight toward it. Let's see. So I know that you have some vision problems, and it seems to have heightened your other senses. How do you think that this sensory enhancement affects your ability to connect with the spirits? And do you believe that those with heightened sensitivities are more naturally attuned to the paranormal?
I had a lot of problems with my eyes. My first surgery was at age 3, but I've always been very, very sensitive. So it's been good and bad because I really experienced a lot of illnesses, and I feel uncomfortable in a lot of situations where maybe it wouldn't affect another person as strongly. But as far as not being able to see well, I do feel that I have enhanced hearing and other senses, sense of taste. And when I go to investigate, I usually use the 3 clairs. My 3 clairs that are the strongest are clairsentience, where you feel. And I would say secondly is being clairvoyant, where you see. And then claircognizant, where I just know. And so I feel that, if you have an open mind to the spirit world and you just accept what you receive and don't question it or judge it, you'll be pretty successful in communicating with otherworldly energies.
You've got to keep that open mind, open heart.
Exactly.
Yes. So let's see. So you've visited many haunted locations and communicated with many spirits. What method of communication with the spirit world has been most profound or surprising to you?
We've been everywhere. I mean, we've been Oregon, Washington, Arizona, all over Nevada, California, Colorado. I would say my favorite piece of equipment, actually there's several, but my first one would be the digital recorder. I'm on my 3rd Olympus. I love Olympus because it records very clearly. Secondly, I would say the SLS camera. Both the digital recorder and the SLS camera are great because the evidence is undeniable. I mean, with the digital recorder, you hear something. With the SLS, if you feel something and then you see a stick figure next to you, it's like, okay, that's validating it. Thirdly, I'd say I really like the Polterpod.
What is that?
It's kind of like a spirit box, but it works. You don't get as much static radio frequency stuff. We've had some great success with that, getting people in their actual real voices.
That I have not experienced that, and that just sounds bananas to me. All right, I'm just curious, which state would you say is the most haunted out of the states?
Nevada.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Just anywhere in particular, just the state
it's
as
all
a whole?
over. I mean, Tonopah's got a couple of locations, and Virginia City is packed. They always say there's more spirits there than there are living people.
That's funny. Nice. What would you say is the most profound message that you've ever received during a reading?
I performed my first seance at my house with my husband, and we actually used quite a few devices, but in addition, we used the Polterpod I was talking about earlier. And we actually got my father to come through in his specific voice, and my father and I had decided on some code phrases before he passed away. He gave us his code phrase. And so I knew it was my dad. And then he told me that he loved me and that he missed me, and it just brought tears to me.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, and I do readings for friends and family and just strangers, and I work really well with photographs. If I see the people's eyes, I can really, do a great job on, reading, and I get specific details. And I'd say probably what really is amazing to me is the amount of detail that I come up with, and my sitters are very amazed with the detail too. And I had one girl that after I did a reading for her, she actually hugged me and was crying and said, you're the real deal, and you really knew all the details. And it just really made me feel great to be able to do that for someone.
That's amazing. Has anybody have you scared anybody off? Or has anybody freaked out at their experience and never wanted to come back?
No, people are usually pretty perceptive.
That is very cool. Have you noticed any changes in people's interest in the paranormal or the spiritual world over the years?
Most definitely. I think initially people kind of thought you were strange if you told them you were into the paranormal, but now with all the TV shows, it's widely acceptable. And I think the spirits initially were very open about giving out their name. Now they seem to be a little bit more reluctant. And it's great now. We have so many different devices, and originally there weren't that many devices to do investigating with, but now with all these electrical engineers, they've created so many great devices to document the paranormal.
That is very, very cool. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for your time with us today. It was amazing getting to know you better and to dive into what you do in the supernatural world. Thank you for joining us. Our next guest, or guests rather, are a paranormal investigative couple who use their symbiotic abilities to help protect others. I'm going to try that again. Can you fix the... Okay. Our next guest, or guests rather, are a paranormal investigative couple who use their symbiotic abilities to help protect others. Please welcome George and Kara Shoplin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us, Erica.
Happy to have you. Now, you are a married couple, but you're also paranormal investigators. I need to know, how did you meet, and what is this relationship like?
Well, we met when I was 18, and we met at an 18 and over nightclub. I actually asked him to pretend to be my boyfriend, and here we are 37 years later.
Oh, that's so sweet. Oh. See, do you have, what is your interpretation?
That's how we met. It was good from afar. We met in a club. It was actually a blast. And we never thought that we would be here today as what we do now to help others in the paranormal field. We make sure that we bring love and humor, everything above, to keep us going, because I think one of the main things about being what we do now, paranormal investigating, is our main ingredient, if you don't mind me saying, is to give people hope. And we'll hopefully get into that. Why we give people hope is what we've dealt with in our lifetime, and that everybody has a story. But we use our love, our humor, and whatever it may be in our relationship of almost 37 years now. So I think we, as a paranormal couple, we bring everything, I think, to the table, and I think we're understood because we've been through it all. We understand. So I think us being down to earth and just being humble and just being kind and loving people, it's easy to do what we do in a paranormal field.
Very nice. Now, you've both lived in a home with frequent paranormal activity. How did your personal experiences shape your approach to investigating the paranormal? And what lessons have you learned from coexisting with spirits in your own space?
So when we first started having experiences in our house, we weren't into the paranormal, so it freaked us out. And we had a really good friend who helped us along the way. She was a medium. And we learned a lot from her. So, we had her on speed dial and, Julie, this happened, and it taught us a lot. He was, I think, more freaked out than I was.
But what was the first thing that happened?
He had gone to work. My older daughter had gone to school. My younger daughter was still sleeping, and we lived in a 2-story house at the time, and I got up to go downstairs, and her bedroom door was open, and when I came back upstairs, her bedroom door was closed, and I thought she had gotten up to get ready for school, and I walked into our bedroom, and she was sleeping on the couch in there, and I guess she had been there the whole time.
Spooky.
Yeah. So I went and opened her door, and then I heard it close again. And so I texted my friend saying, "Oh, actually, I posted on Facebook at the time, we have doors opening and closing in our house," and then that's where it all started. And we went through that for a while. We had some crazy experiences in that house.
And we always just ignored it. You just don't think about it. We were not into the we didn't know anything about paranormal. Home life is not, George does not like scary movies. It would be one of those, we sit and watch a scary movie, and I'm like, hiding my eyes. She'd be, no, you got to watch. And I didn't know too much about the paranormal at all. It was just a scary situation about paranormal. You think it's something spooky, when actually it's really not. It's not, everything's not all spooky. There's more to learn from the paranormal field. There's a lot to learn about the paranormal field. That's not just spooky,
Very true. I have to admit, if there were doors closing in my house, I'd have an afternoon off away to have a think on it. But
well, and to go along with our experience, that made us want to help others, because the movies and TV makes it sound scary, like, oh, they're demons, everything's evil, and that's not necessarily the case the majority of the time. So in our experience, we learned a lot, and we want to help others, learn to coexist with spirits, because there's spirits everywhere.
Yes, paranormal activity is not just a movie; it's just
activity
of the paranormal.
Exactly.
Yes. So, George, your near-death experience seems to have been a catalyst for awakening your clairvoyant and other abilities.
Yes.
Can you describe that experience and how it has influenced and enhanced your investigations?
Yes. Okay. So roughly about 25 years ago, I was diagnosed. I had cancer. I was diagnosed with cancer, squamous cell carcinoma to be exact. And during the cancer travel, the journey I had to go through, that was a bear. But also at the same time, I had to go through radiation. Now, what happened to me may be something different to somebody else, how they got into it. I started having grand mal seizures. So having grand mal seizures opened, I feel at this time when I was seeing things, I would see like a slideshow. I'd see somebody like, what was that? To myself, because I couldn't tell my wife yet, because I didn't want her to think I was going crazy. I'm seeing things that are unexplained. I have no validation. In the paranormal field, it's all about validation. You can't say that, hey, I see something, but it makes it more powerful. I see something, and you have validation, or you have something that shows that he really did or she did. So how it started for me was that I ended up having a few grand mal seizures, and I ignored it. I ignored what I was seeing, and finally one day I just said, I had to talk to my wife. I was like freaking out because I was starting to see things that were it was almost like a light switch but it was turning out to be more so like a dimmer switch. It was more so intense. It wasn't off and on. It was just more intense. I was seeing more clearly. So I told her what I saw. I started seeing more and more as I was accepting what I was seeing. So how I got into being able to see, smell, feel all of above. I was a blue collar guy. I mean, I didn't know anything about this stuff. And the next thing you know, I opened up to my wife, Kara, and I couldn't tell my family. I couldn't tell anybody because I was more emotional just dealing with cancer. Now, I was given 1 year to live. Now, 1 year to live, and now it's 30 years later. So my thing is I'm here for a reason now, and that's why I've turned this. I flipped the script, not just being a paranormal investigator, but to give hope to cancer victims or people that are sick, to not be afraid of the other side of the veil. And I take it more serious now. I take it, and it's not a joke. It's not a joke. It's like people every day are getting that phone call saying you have cancer, you have this, you have that. Instead of them losing hope, I want to be the guy to give hope, saying, look, there's something after we leave here. I promise you, I have evidence, I have validation. So how I got into it was not something that was watching TV shows. It was somebody more powerful giving me this journey, and I still continue with it very strongly, of being a paranormal investigator and showing people that it is something that's unexplained. And this grand mal seizures, I think, opens something up here where I'm able to see things that are unexplained, even to myself.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that.
Sure.
Let's see. All right. So, Kara, as a Reiki master, for those who don't know, what is Reiki? I'm still a little fuzzy on it myself.
Reiki is universal energy. So we're all made up of energy. Our souls are energy. So Reiki is universal energy, and I use that. As a Reiki master, it flows through me, and then I can give it to others. So I use that on people as well as, the spirit world when I do my investigations.
Very cool. All right. So, as a Reiki master, you incorporate positive energy and healing into your investigations, as you basically just said. So how does this approach impact the way that you interact with spirits? And how does Reiki assist in helping them cross over or clear the negative energy from people and places?
So I have positive energy for everything in my life.
I can tell.
So, even like with us, if we're having a bad day or we're arguing, which we do sometimes, we don't investigate because we don't want to bring that negativity with us anywhere. Because my belief is what you put out is what you're going to get back. So I always put out positive energy, and I've never had a very negative experience in the paranormal. Negative things happen. I just think it's an angry spirit. It's not, anything bad. So I have a positive outlook, all the time. And I feel that attracts spirits because as a living person, are you going to be attracted to the grumpy person over here? Or are you going to be attracted to the happy, positive person over here? So that's how I look at it. So I bring that into all of my investigations. And just being happy, helps clear negative energy. So I bring that into all of my investigations.
Can you sense somebody going through the crossing over process, or?
Me personally, I don't have those abilities, like he does. So we're kind of, our abilities complement each other's because he has things that I don't and I have things that he doesn't. So I can't really sense it myself. But I do use my Reiki to help cross over. And, I will ask, like, my daughter, she'll call me and say, hey, you know what, I feel like something is here. Can you, cross it over? So, because she has abilities. She doesn't really talk about it, but I know she does. And so I'll do, what I do to clear it. And then I'll ask her, how are you feeling? She's like, oh yeah, everything's better now. So I get that validation that, what I did helped. But myself personally, I don't feel it.
Do you have the sense of the crossing over? Is it just before there was this and then after things were better?
The sense of, it's hard to explain, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
It's really
figured.
tough to explain. I mean, is I feel this is I have to interject on something she may have said. Is I do believe everybody that you meet every single day has an ability. We've all gone that gut feeling ability. Everybody has that gut feeling ability. When a young lady may go out with a young man and say, I should have listened to my gut. I should have never went out with him.
Right.
Okay, that's an ability that we've all been given by the higher power. Everybody has it. It's a matter of either you're going to ignore it or you're going to accept it. And so when I do, like she's saying, when I feel that like we're at an investigation, I feel like that someone just crossed over. What happens to me is this. It's more so like I tear up. I'll start crying. Or if it's, I feel my opinion on myself, and it's just an opinion, is this. If I feel I'm at an investigation, the three of us are investigating, and all of a sudden we're doing our thing, we're asking these silly questions, and all of a sudden I start getting angry, and we're starting to like, she's doing her thing with Reiki, and we're trying to cross over. My opinion is this, is, all right, a spirit just crossed over. I can feel something change in the room, but it was an angry spirit. Because I started getting a little, why should I get mad? I love life. I love life fully. I love life, you know? And so, but there's times when we've investigated from here to Mississippi, and it could be, it's a civil war. We could be back east somewhere, and it's more so emotional. You see what I'm saying? It changes from California to wherever, back east. So long story short, there's a few senses. I can't explain it. Either I'll start crying, I'll start getting mad.
All of the
It's
feels.
everything, because that's, I mean, right now, I get emotional, because it's just something that I wish that people would understand what I deal with on a daily. And it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
Being a paranormal investigator is not all about the bells and whistles, wearing black clothes, black hat, the sexy black. Everybody wants to wear black because that makes you a paranormal investigator. It doesn't. What makes you a paranormal investigator is when you're emotional. Let your emotions take over. It's okay to cry. I'm crying for no reason right now. Because it could be something in the room. I don't know. Why am I crying? Because I'm at peace with stuff. And when it comes to being a paranormal investigator, it's not all about just wearing black clothes that makes you a paranormal investigator. It's about knowing who you are, accepting who you are. And if you're a man, woman, or anybody, if you cry, throw some tears out, it doesn't mean that you're a weak person. It just means that you know who you are. And that's why I feel as paranormal investigators, this is who we are. This is what we love to help people. And there might be somebody in the room here that maybe something's going on. Maybe I'm feeling that. I don't know if someone's dealing with something that's very sad right now. And that could be feeding off of somebody 100 feet from here or 3 feet from here. I don't know. And that's wish I could explain it, but I can't.
Well, on the note of the more what people picture in their minds when they initially think paranormal investigator, you appeared on the Ghost Adventures episode of the Kennedy Mine, and what was that experience like for you?
When I first went into it, awesome. Oh my gosh, George is going to be on TV. I mean, let's be honest, we getting this bells and whistles. We're like, hey, going on Ghost Adventures, and it was great, and I had fun. But what I took away was this, though, is how not to investigate. And what I mean by that is we all get wrapped up in the trap of watching all these different TV shows. I'm going to investigate like this person, this person, this person, this person, because that's how they're supposed to do it. They're on TV. This is how you're supposed to. But the best way to investigate when you walk away from the shows is you take away is this: how not to investigate. Do it your way, not do it their way. If that makes any sense, because we can watch TV shows. That's how you're supposed to do this, and just do it your way. So when I walked away from Ghost Adventures, an experience. It's on the resume in my own mind. I'll take it with me the day I go away, and it was fun. I met some great people, and I still have great memories, and I also have great relationships with some of them at the same time. So.
How does it differ than your work with Kara?
Working with Kara with paranormal investigating?
No, the Ghost Hunters episode. The way you investigated then versus what your normal work is.
It's totally different now. We don't do all the bells and whistles. So investigating there with was bells and whistles, using all this equipment. I'm not a full fan of all the equipment out there they show on TV and such, because it's not me. But with us, it's all about trust and love, and and it's huge being a paranormal. When you're a married couple in the paranormal field, it's much different, because it's more pressure. Because what happens with other couples is, they're they're going to fib for one another. They're going to say, oh yeah, this or that. It's rougher on us being a paranormal couple in the field, because I feel that people don't understand that they may not take us as serious because we're just trying to, I don't know, make a name or something silly like that, you know. So we believe in just a handheld recorder and our own feelings inside. I don't do the bells and whistles. It's all about the gut feeling, and you go with your gut. That's your best equipment is yourself.
Very, very nice. Well, is there a way that folks can find you or follow your work? Maybe ask guidance for help?
Yes.
We have Facebook pages. So mine is Kara Shoplin. His is George Shoplin. And I
pretty
do have
basic.
an Instagram page too. But that's it.
We're just
Basic.
not out there to like, oh my God, let's do this, and this. You know, we feel we can meet somebody on the city street, and you know, we can help them. If we see someone down and out, I've gone to Starbucks and I see somebody sitting there, I'm like, you can tell they're down and out. So all the social media stuff is fun. It's great. I love it. But at the same time, all we do is Facebook. It's perfect. More than that, it'd be just too much, if that makes any sense.
Totally understandable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, ma'am.
It has been a pleasure learning about you both and how this symbiotic relationship
Yes.
between you works.
Yes, it works perfectly. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
having us.
you.
Thank you for joining us this evening on The Realm. This has been Erica Floor. Thank you.